Hello and welcome to my abode. Well, I'm getting this fire kind of set. Keep in mind, I'm going to be talking about bows. Actually, two particular bows, which one of them probably will be going off to a fellow, a viewer of mine that has been searching around, like many people, trying to get one of my bows. But while I'm getting this thing all set, making sure it does not burn down my teepee, let me tell you that I watched a video on this guy, probably self-taught, with actually not a huge expenditure in tools. Took this watch he bought off of eBay. I know I'm like a broken record, pocket watches and all this stuff, but they're fascinating me now. It was a wristwatch, not working, of course. Bought it for $25. And using his tools, which again, not excessive, nothing like being an auto mechanic, nothing nearly as expensive as that array of tools, he repaired it. And it's like, wow. Step by step, taking it apart, cleaning it up, repairing some pieces, being able to order some stuff on eBay, put it together, running wonderfully within 2 seconds over a 24-hour period, because he's got this kind of a thing that measures all this stuff, not just like setting it and looking at it and seeing how far it's off. $2,500 watch. Went from $25 to at least $2,500 because the maker of these watches, and people go after them like meat in a shark frenzy. I mean, on eBay, the auctions for watches are brutal. I mean, these people are brutal. There's a market for these things. The cheapest one I saw in this manufacturer was $2,500, with many of them going up to $10,000. Oh my, we've chosen the wrong field of endeavor. Being able to take these little things apart, clean them, and I'm looking at it. Again, I'm stalling. Going to talk about bows. Just hang on. Hear me out. That's what we do here. We just chat. There's a plethora, a whole big bunch, big old bucket load of old broken watches that are probably actually not that broken. Maybe a spring or something. Somebody didn't lubricate them. Money to be made, my friends. Watches are the future, just like Mrs. Robinson. It's not plastics are the future, it's old watches. Okay, so the fire seems to be rather happy. You can hear the wind blowing. The worse the weather, the better it is in the teepee. And you can absolutely still. I've been in here in 50-mile-an-hour gusts, and it's just like this. Noisy on the outside, quiet on the inside. Let's talk about bows. Okay, Mark. What I have, 2 paddle bows. Options. First, I'm going to go over the scheme of one of my paddle bows finished. One that is not rawhided, but I could have easily rawhided it, but I didn't. I've got an array of tools here. We're going to go from, I don't know, handle outwards. But the handle on them, if you were to do a cross-section oval, it's kind of a squashed oval. And then it goes on to, in this case, a 10-inch diameter kind of a thing. And these are easy to make. And these circular dog bones, as I call them, do not need to be precise. There could be a flat spot on them, and not exactly 10 inches in diameter, 10-inch diameter thing. Is it diameter? Yeah, okay. But if you were to do this, no light between the back of this and the dog bone. Now, when I say these don't need to be precise, I love these things because they crown the bows. Well, they don't, but you do. But this is an indicator. They don't need to be precise because I'm using the same darn one for this limb as I am this. And symmetrical. Whether or not you go like this, figure a flat spot on like one of the sides, somewhere in here. Whether or not you do it this, and then just do this, or do it reverse, so there's that flat kind of here or there. Actually, with the precision you're working as far as scraping or using, say, a rasp to do that rounding, you know, it's gonna, nothing is perfect, so making a 10-inch diameter one, it's not exactly down to the micron level, doesn't matter. Do not be intimidated by this thing. Now it goes from this, an oval, to the round section. Now you can do one of two things, which the latest series of rawhide back bows, I do this. I measure it in about 10 inches. About 10 inches from the tippity tip right here. Now I'm going to talk about the tips right here, but I'll measure it about 10 inches, draw a line right down the center. And this is where shadows come in. Great importance. And then I will go, and I will, you don't have to have one of these things, but see, I use my Scribe-O-Matic here. I will, let's see, which end do I mark? I mark this like this. Yeah, you see what I'm doing? Like this. So I figure out the depth of it back here because it's a varying kind of thickness. It actually gets thicker towards the tips. Plus because it's getting narrowed, so you're cutting into it. I'll mark a line along here. So I've got reference lines along here, and I've got one on here. You know where I'm going with this? I will actually put a triangular cross section in here. It'll run from that center line down to that edge line. I'll let you process that. But so when you're looking at it like this, I'm looking at it in the right light, even so much more like this, I will see it going from a round to having a nice sharp spine down here, and then I'll finish it up with whippings of sinew, and that over the rawhide, going from the round to this triangular section, the sinew, which actually makes it a little harder to string because you can't just slide things over and stuff like that, but it looks cool. Also ties down that rawhide right there, so it's not going to ever, from stringing and unstringing or whatever. Now typically the rawhide will go, there will be a thin strip along this tip, and I've had several that I made from people and then it kind of peels up there, but it's stopped by the sinew. It's like, just sand it off. It doesn't matter. You could even glue it back down because I use hide glue form, and you can certainly Elmer's glue or Titebond, just glue that rawhide back down, that thin strip that runs along there. It is so non-critical. You can do either one. Sand it off so it's just rawhide, sinew, and then a completely wooden pin knock, or you can glue that thing down. It doesn't matter. It's not going to mess it up. Okay, so I've talked about the basic shape of these things, how you finish them, using the dog bone, and then that spine that runs down the center. You do not have to have one of these things. You can just do it by eye. Eye works. In the beginning, before I came up with my Scribe-O-Matic, I would just take a cereal box or some little cardboard box like that and cut strips, long rectangular strips, certain lengths, and then I would just put it along an edge and then just use a pencil. You know, you do what you do. It always works. Now you see the pin knocks on here. I really love this. It gets thin, then it thickens up. It's actually thicker here than it is here, and then it swoops up. I either mark, I have the little lines where I mark the upper part where I'll take my round rasp to make my string grooves, and then remove the rest of it so it's a pin knock and not just string grooves. I'll either mark that top where I start this in 3/4 of an inch or an inch. Now you're saying 1/4 of an inch, 0.25 of an inch doesn't make that much of a difference. But believe me, that little subtle difference does give a great visual difference. Plus it gives an extra pound to the bow's draw weight. But I like the looks of a longer pin knock than a shorter one. And so this is a necessary tool. This maybe not. You can do it by eye again. You don't even need to have the back rounded, Mark. That's a feature of my more later generation paddle bows for many, many years. And this is the one that, you know, you're welcome to have either one of these things, but really I would encourage you to get this one that's not that finished. You know, it is a bow. It is a bow, but it doesn't have, I don't know if you can see daylight through there. It's a flat back almost a growth ring bow. I mean, this is basically a growth ring bow. And I just did the bevels. You can use sanding blocks for doing the initial beveling. I use an orbital disc sander. I've made so many of these things. I am precise with the orbital disc sander, and it's little rounded edges. Now you could simply just knock that bevel off by rounding it a little bit. And because these are made, this one and that last one I showed, dimensionally similar prior to rounding the back, I removed quite a bit of material from the back of that bow by doing this. If you wanted to have a stiffer bow, this could be like 45, possibly 50 pounds, no guarantees. Just round the stuff. Put your string grooves in here, you've got a bow. You know, fine-tune the tillering by just sanding the back. Orbital disc sander works wonders, or a hand sander. You know, it's going to be darn close, because I always work precisely with my blanks, and I can actually, believe it or not, tiller a bow without using a tillering string. You know, by working to very precise, whether it's a board bow or a stave bow, very precise lines, sharp pencil, having a sharp pencil on that for sharp lines, making sure everything is even, using the same thing for the width and everything. I can make a bow without basically tillering it. But that is it. This doesn't have this nocks in it. I would encourage you, if you get this bow mark, do the pin nocks. They're so much better than just string grooves, because then you can just, to unstring it, slide the string over there, make your sliding loop a little bigger, and then slide it up from the bottom. Just look at my how to string and unstring a paddle bow for the greater details. Okay, so here we have a nice red oak bow blank, which is, I would consider it blank more than a bow, just because I would fully round the back and then put that spine down the back, rawhide back it, and paint it. But as it stands now, you could probably just put the grooves in here, string it, and it's a bow. It would be heavier than that one, because again, I worked it down, but that's that. Now, why would you get, now I'm talking to Mark here, because he's got first dibs on either one of these things. Why would you get the unfinished one over the finished one? Well, the unfinished one is it's a beautiful shape. It's already a beautiful shape, well engineered, well produced. It's a thing of beauty, and all it takes is to put your slant on it. If you wanted to get a finished one out, heck, I'm going to do them at the same price. What I offered you in that message, either one, and that price also includes shipping. You live in California, the shipping is going to be somewhat higher than it would be if you were on the east side of the Mississippi, but I'll cover the shipping. I'll throw in a string. Now, I mentioned earlier that this one, you know, does have a little bit of deflex in it, but big deal. You could probably take that out by heating it or just living with it. You know, a lot of the times people are chasing this elusive reflex, and they say, well, it's got like a 3/4 or an inch of whatever string follow, it's not a good bow. Well, yeah, it is. A lot of game has been dropped with bows with a little bit of deflex. They certainly shoot well. They reliable, you know, it's broken in, hasn't broke on me, shot it a lot, just a little lighter weight, very sweet shooting bow. But that is it. That is all. I have nothing more to say. I'm going to get the fire back up here and commence enjoying quiet time. One note is I get notifications when I receive, most of the time, I get notifications when I receive a comment. I'll do my best to respond. Sometimes I lose them. But then if you respond to my response, I don't get another notification, so I have to go all the way through and try to find them. So the best is always to just give me a fresh comment. You know, then I will see that you have spoken. That's about it. I've got jobs to do in the house, but I told my wife I was coming down here to do a video on selling bows, so I'm going to take advantage of that. Just got to hang out here for a bit.